Hi, I'm attorney Renee Osipov with Chelle Law, and we assist parents, guardians, and students who are having issues surrounding special education or specifically 504 plans and the accommodations. In this video, I'm discussing what a 504 plan looks like in the state of Arizona. So actually, 504 plans are going to look basically the same for all 50 states because 504 plans are actually codified in federal law. Specifically the Individuals with a Disability Act, Section 504. So that's where the plan gets its name. It's from that federal statute. So all 50 states must comply, and the purpose of the 504 plan and those accommodations are to protect students with disabilities from discrimination. And to protect them, they may need accommodations. The 504 plan statutes actually state that in order for a child to qualify, they have to have either a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits a major life activity. So this is sort of a very broad definition, but there are two prongs. So first, there must be a physical or mental impairment. So this can be anything from ADHD, depression, anxiety, to traumatic brain injury, any type of physical ailment can be included in that. But just because you have a diagnosis of that does not mean that you would qualify for, that the student would qualify for a 504 plan. This disability that we have now sort of discussed has to substantially limit them within the school setting. So if the student has ADHD and it's substantially limiting their ability to take exams or complete assignments or focus in school and to learn and retain the information, then accommodation should be granted under the law. If someone has a physical ailment, perhaps maybe they're just in a wheelchair and they need the aid of a wheelchair to get around. But mentally, there's no reason for them to have an IEP. They don't need specialized education. They just need accommodations within the classroom. So entering and exiting, getting around. If they're in maybe secondary education, something like lockers or transition periods, they may need accommodations for that. So the great thing about a 504 plan is it's really tailored to meet the child's needs if they're substantially limited. So like I said, in Arizona, it's really the same as in all 50 states, but I'm going to go ahead and walk you through the basic processes. So first, if a parent or teacher feels like the student may need some type of accommodations, they would initiate the process by letting whoever the 504 coordinator is, that they would like for the student to be evaluated. Now, if it's coming from the parents, I always suggest that they start with a diagnosis. So if you're unsure if your child is ADHD or you feel like they have anxiety or something like that, it's best to sort of start with your healthcare provider to get the diagnosis first. Then once that happens, you've already completed the first part of the requirements. So now you would ask for 504 plan accommodations, and then the team would then assemble. Normally this is admin staff, normally the general education teacher, the 504 plan coordinator. Sometimes special education gets involved just because there is some overlap with 504 plans and IEPs, and then the parents themselves. And then sometimes if the student is a little bit older, the student can also be part of the team as well. So at this point, the team assembles, they discuss sort of observations and data that's been collected. This may look like grades, attendance, observations of multiple people within the education setting, and the team will come together and decide on what accommodations should be granted. If everyone agrees, then the plan is then drafted and implemented. If parents disagree, there are some ways that they can challenge or ask for maybe like a second opinion for the accommodations. Then at that point, if the accommodations are granted, like I said, it's drafted and implemented. At that point, then the school is fully responsible and liable for providing those accommodations that they had agreed to. If they don't, in Arizona and in all 50 states, then if you need to file a complaint as a parent that the 504 plan is not being implemented, you actually do it at the Office of Civil Rights. It's a federal agency, and they will conduct an investigation and decide on if the student's civil rights were actually violated. So again, 504 plans are pretty serious. And if a school offers them, they draft it, they must comply with those as well. Also, coming up with the accommodations themselves can be a little challenging. So it's good to sort of bring your concerns to the group because, the general education teacher may see something differently than the parent, as opposed to maybe any sort of like specialized teacher or administration. So everybody's going to come in with their own observations and data, and you guys can really come together to craft great accommodations to meet the students' needs. And that's really important. I think if parents are concerned if the student needs accommodations, I would say go ahead and get that, see if there's a diagnosis there, and then go ahead and reach out to get those accommodations. Especially with exams, those are really important. So 504 plans can have accommodations where students get extended period of time. They're allowed to take their exams in different places. Sometimes exams are able to be read to them. Sometimes exams are able to get, we call it chunking, or they just give certain parts of the exam at a time. So it's broken down into parts as opposed to handing it all to the student at once. That can be overwhelming. So really the accommodations and the possibilities are endless with a 504 plan. So if you feel like your student's struggling, but maybe they're not struggling with comprehending the information, a 504 plan would be sort of the way to go. If you feel like they're at risk academically, also maybe an IEP would be something to look at as well. And sometimes school districts, especially here in Arizona too, they sort of weigh both of those options simultaneously. So that's another thought. But again, here in Arizona, it's the same as in all 50 states. If a child has a physical or mental impairment, it's substantially limiting them within the classroom, reach out to your school and request that they be evaluated for a 504 plan. Come to the table with some ideas for accommodations, and you can hold the school accountable once the 504 plan is drafted. So if you'd like more information on this, our contact information and website are all in the description below this video. Feel free to reach out. We're here and we're happy to help. Thanks.